I'd like to bring the meeting to order. Okay, we have a quorum. We have 5 board members. So we'll move on to item number 2, information, regular board meeting schedule. First, we'll go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mrs. Santani, would you lead us, please? Okay, item 2.1, Board 2021 regular board meeting schedules. Do we have any comments or discussion? Okay, so we'll move on to item 3.1, discussion and or action concerning extension of COVID leave for employees. Ms. Troxler, Ms. Gardner, Mr. Guidry, and Mr. Mouton. And the recommended action is that the board extends the December 31, 2020 deadline for the use of the 10 days of COVID leave to include the dates of January 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2021 for those employees who have not exhausted their leave. Can I get a motion? Okay, we have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the board extends the December 31st, 2020 deadline for the use of the 10 days of COVID leave to include the dates of January 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2021 for those employees who have not exhausted such leave.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Lachele and a second by Mrs. Santani. Do we have any comments from our public?
Good evening. Julia Reed, Lafayette Parish Association of Educators President. We appreciate the recommended action on the agenda, but we would also like that LPSS maybe go a little bit further and not dock days or pay for teachers or other educators who are forced to quarantine due to contact tracing by the school. In many of our elementary schools and even in some of our secondary, teachers are just not able to maintain 6 feet from their students all the time. And we think it's unfair to penalize them for something that they don't essentially have any control over, because oftentimes they don't. And I'd also like to call special attention to our education support professionals, particularly our para-educators, who often work very closely with our special education students, doing things like scribing. So scribing is when they essentially write for a student because the student is unable to do so on their own. And that requires them to be in close contact with a student for quite some time, certainly much longer than 15 minutes, depending on the assignment. These members are often our most vulnerable members because they make about half of what I do. And so a loss of a single day's pay, while it may sound dramatic, can often mean not having food on the table for their family. They are drastically underpaid. I know we always talk about teachers are underpaid, but I can't do my job without a paraeducator, without a bus driver, cafeteria worker. You know, if they don't feed my students and get those butts in my seats, then education doesn't happen. And so we would ask that you would extend it possibly to not docking when they are sent home by the school system. You know, a lot of the spring and summer there was talk about we love teachers, we love our educators, we appreciate everything you do. The most important thing you can have for a student is a teacher in front of them. So we would ask that you would then, if we are essential, if you appreciate us, if we are all that, like you say we are, that you extend those to where we're not penalized for something that is beyond our control. Thank you.
Hey, Gemma Cedillo, also with Lafayette Parish Association of Educators. And I would like to also kind of bounce off of what Julia said about thanking you for extending this time and considering this, but also to also consider not docking pay for those employees who are forced to quarantine due to contact tracing. And just to give you a little idea of what that number might look like, I did do like a little sample poll on a concerned teacher group. I just kind of expected to find a lot of teachers had already used up their COVID time. And so I was actually surprised. We had about 300 people that answered the poll, and it was just it wasn't a controlled sample size. It was just a group of concerned teachers. And there were about 300 people that answered the poll, and of those 300 people, 191 of those teachers or educators had not had to use any of their COVID time. So we're not looking at a huge sample size of people, but as our numbers in our region are increasing, there could be an increased amount of teachers that have to use that quarantine time. So we're not asking for additional pay in the event that a child is sick for our own personal irresponsible choices on our time off, but we're asking that if somebody in our class is forced to quarantine and we are also forced to take that time off, that it's not docked. So we'd appreciate your consideration in that. Thank you.
Do you have any additional comments from the public? Okay, then I will entertain comments from the board. Mrs. Zentani?
I appreciate your comments, ladies. I do. Ms. Reed, welcome back. It's great to see you in good health. I hope everything is going well. Those are very, I think, poignant items that you brought up. My understanding is, Ms. Adia, is the similar percentage of our employees have used any of their COVID days this year. It's probably something that I think would be best handled in a manner where the superintendent and the administration can put some hard numbers on it and see what it is we're looking at, rather than the 9 of us. I don't want to say spur of the moment, but certainly without any research, any hard research into the matter, right? So I'll ask Ms. Gardner and Ms. Strasclair, please, put together some numbers around what these ladies are talking about, just so we can have a grasp on, is this an issue, is it not an issue, and maybe come to a reasonable conclusion. So I think I speak for all the board members. We're, I think, happy to support everyone who has stepped up to the plate this year and done what our students have needed, and I'm proud to support this item tonight. So I'm happy to talk about this and learn as much about it so we can make an informed decision.
Dr. Chaston?
Yeah, I just wanted to reassure everyone that after speaking with staff, it was clear that they're going to take a very hard, long look at this when it comes to the individual situations. More so just to make sure everybody was doing what they were supposed to do, and make sure that folks are going to get the days that are necessary and that are due to them as well. And I don't want to embarrass you, man, but there's a gentleman in here by the name of Marcus Thomas that I consider he and I friends, and he's the person that I found out about this through. He notified me as to what was going on, as he always does, and I and the superintendent were just kind of joking around, and it was clear to me then that the person that tends to update me on things is Marcus. Notifies me about things as well, lobbies me on certain issues. We were joking, and he never calls us too late, even though he does. He's extremely respectful of your point of view, but yet he tries to make sure. So I'd be remiss just a little if I didn't say, like, just a genuine hearted thank you to you, because I really didn't understand it initially as far as what was taking place, and after a brief conversation, it was clear as to what was going on. And I just want to tell you I appreciate you, because you are probably the right hand of everything that's taking place in there, and you go out your way, and I appreciate you, because it makes it that much easier when I can depend on all of y'all to explain to me what's going on, and it's pretty clear at that point. So I just want to say thanks.
Any additional board comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Seven for, none against.
Okay, motion pass. Do we have any additional business to take care of? We don't, so I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Excuse me, Ms. Morrison, Ms. Mason and Ms. LeBeau.
Okay,
Thank
yes.
you.
Ms. Mason and Ms. LeBeau are absent today due to being quarantined, so that's why they're not here. Thank you. Okay, thank you.